Okay, when we think about organizing the environment, the physical learning environment we're in, whether that is a high school classroom, middle years, primary end, there are some common goals that we want to achieve. One would be to foster predictability and calm. Okay, also communicate safety and also acceptance. And really we want to create functional spaces for learning, more than one. So I don't think of the classroom, for example, as one space, but as several possible zones wherein we can learn. So we communicate many, many things by what is seen and heard or experienced in our environment. Some students don't arrive at school feeling as safe, and although we can't control this, we can take actions that are most likely to enhance calm and produce those feelings of safety. So we'll talk about some of those now. Okay, in terms of that physical layout, these pictures are not diagrams for you to follow. Please don't cut and paste them and try to create a classroom that looks like them. I don't even know what they say, to be honest with you. They are just visuals for examples. So let's start with that physical organization. What we really want to do is go based on principles as opposed to rules. So we should be considering the flow of students from one area to another. What are the possible distractions or barriers to address? Okay, so just as it can enhance predictability, calm, safety, acceptance, it's possible for a classroom to do the opposite and detract from those. We want to avoid that. So for example, environments can invite or disinvite collaborating. They can communicate positive, negative, even confusing messages to our students. The good news is that each part of the classroom is an opportunity to create safety, comfort, and belonging. There is no one design, and I want to stress that again. There is no one design. I'm going to share a picture with you shortly. It is not the picture of a perfect classroom. There's no one design. It's the context is key. We need to think about where do students look for what they're going to do, what they're going to do next. Where do they go if they need, for example, some space or help or supplies? What procedures do they follow to do that? And I really think of the flow of a classroom similar to any other busy environment. So be that a coffee shop or an airport. It varies by context, who is there, how many people are there, and what your space is like. So we'll talk a bit more about that here. Okay, remember I said I was going to show you a picture. This is not the picture of a bad classroom on the left and a good classroom on the right. It's not the picture of a perfect classroom on the right. There are two different feelings for me associated with these two classrooms. There's a few things I want to stress about these pictures to make sure that you notice them. So I'm going to go over a few pieces. I guess many of us have been in an environment where we find that the sheer amount or the lack of organization can be overwhelming to the senses. Like students, that can be, adults are more or less sensitive to visual and auditory noise. So you may look at these pictures and not be bothered by the left. You may look at the left and be a bit bothered. You may be quite bothered by the left. It might have a sensation for you of being quite overwhelming. And that's okay. We are all different in that way, and that's part of being different people. However, if you are someone who is, for example, struggling with language, an organized visual environment can really make a big difference for your ability to focus on key visual information easily. And there are a number of other different reasons why children might be affected by too much distracting visual or auditory information. So nobody gets hurt by considering that and keeping less things around. It's one way to promote predictability and calm. It makes the purpose of your spaces more clear. It makes your transitions easier, and it can be an easier sensory experience for those who might be sensitive to it. So you likely appreciate this too if you have a favorite coffee place or personal space, restaurant. My chances are that you don't like when it is drastically different from day to day, right? You have expectations about what it will basically look like and what sorts of routines will be in place when you walk in there. So this happens for both adults and children. As a final point, this does not mean getting rid of everything, right? Getting everything out of your classroom. There's no message like that. Or that I have to get a plant, for example, because there's a plant in the corner. You could. You don't have to. Within your context, really what you want to do is make sure that the physical environment is conducive to easy functional movement and promotes predictable routines. Okay? Hopefully doesn't overwhelm the senses either, and that enhances belonging. So one thing about the space on the right is you'll see that some things are missing. I consider this kind of a blank slate. And we could say this is what we want to fill with things that represent the students and the cultures within our classrooms, right? So rather than decorate with pre-bought materials and filling those walls, we can fill them, start to fill them. We want to do that with student work and with art that's representative of different places and cultures. We want to make sure that our students are represented in those walls.